picture you see here is the Mela Restaurant. Pretty sure it's closed now. It's on Mulberry Street near Little Italy. It was originally the site of the Mayfair Boys Civic and Social Club, which was really just a mob hangout. In 1950s, the Genovese family used it as a place where they divvied up the cash that they took from the vendors at the Feast of San Gennaro in Little Italy. A guy named Carmine Debaise took over the lease on the first floor of the building in 1951, along with his best friend, his childhood friend, a guy named Michael Errichiello, who preferred Mickey Evans. Evans was a convicted gambler. He had a string of arrests for assault, robbery, small-time stuff, vagrancy. DiBiase earlier on started his criminal career with a guy named Salvatore Granello, Sally Burns, it depends, Sally. He tried to rob a tailor, both of them called Mike Bakalian, on Hudson Street. It went wrong, it went south. DiBiase got pissed off. He beat the tailor around the face 8 times, hit him hard, scarred him. So he was arrested. He's convicted of attempted robbery and sentenced to a term at the State Vocational Institute in Coxsackie, Coxsackie, Coxsackie. He had a scar, DiBiase, on his left temple, his upper lip. He looked like a gangster. And then above his wrist, he had a tattoo, Pinto, 1949. He dressed, according to people who knew him, like a textbook gangster. He had an open-neck shirt, he had a gold necklace, a big hairy chest, he pointed featherweight Italian shoes, he had silk socks on him and so forth. Apparently, I don't know how they know this, he wore monogrammed underwear. So this is macho guy, but Peter DiPolopis, who was a bodyguard for Joey Gallo, said he was no big inner, no big mover. Sober, he was nothing, but drunk, he'd blow your head off. In February 1944, DiBiase is sent to the Elmira State Reformatory, a horrible place, for 5 years for various crimes. There he starts to read. He has no education, but he starts to read Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Kafka. He edifies himself. He gets out. He starts the Mayfair Social Club, him and Mickey Evans. They never got a liquor license for the place, but they served booze anyway to, again, mostly underworld types, and it was open all night long. It was an after-hours bar. A few days before Christmas in 1951, Mickey Evans and DiBiase, they had an argument. So Evans apparently had been playing cards with people in the club, and he was cheating them. And then he was also siphoning off some money they had in the poker machines at the club. So around 3 o'clock in the morning, December 26, 1951, there's 4 people in the bar. Rocco Tisci, who owned a nearby tavern. He was playing pool with a guy known only as, listen to this, Pretty Willie. Pretty Willie worked at a clubhouse. There was a teenager, Joe Luparelli, Mickey Evans, and Mickey Evans. Luparelli would go on to become a member of the one of the families, I've forgotten which ones. Evans, and he is up at the bar. It's 3 in the morning. He's asleep. He's got his head down on his folded arms. DiBiase opens the bar door. He motions this kid, Joe Luparelli, to come on out. Luparelli, by the Joe Pesci, he was called, would become a member of the Colombo crime family. So Joe Pesci, Luparelli, comes outside. DiBiase tells him, look, go to my friend's house at 13 Elizabeth Street, Sonny Red Indeleco, get him and tell him to bring the guns we have down here. A little while later, Indeleco arrives with a paper bag. He's got 2 guns in it. Him and DiBiase walk into the club. The 2 guys are playing pool. They drop their pool cues because they know there's going to be trouble. They run like hell. For some reason, not only to him, Indeleco shot one of the guys, Tisci, in the ankle. There was no reason for that. And then DiBiase took his gun. Somehow, Mickey Evans is still sleeping through all this. He walks up really close and shoots him in the head, the stomach, the heart. He's dead. Tisci eventually gave up and told the cops what had happened. And DiBiase went on the run for 7 years. He just disappeared. Tisci, in the meantime, stayed in protective custody. It's the longest record of anyone who was in still stands for anyone in protective custody for New York City police. So eventually, Indeleco is tried. He's convicted for his part in the murder. He's sentenced to 12 years. He serves at Sing Sing, horrible place. DiBiase was indicted, but he was on the run. The FBI put out a bulletin on him. They called him a man who would kill without provocation. They were to shoot first, ask questions later. So in August 1958, he gets DiBiase hires a very famous lawyer, Morris Edelbaum, who handled all these huge kids, Jimmy Hoffa, you name it, he handled them. And he surrenders. And as he surrenders, DiBiase goes out there, tells the press, I'm getting tired, I'm getting older, I'm accomplishing nothing, having to stay away from my wife, my children, my mother and father. I'm glad it's over. I had to come in. Oh, good. So DiBiase is convicted in 1959. He's sent to the electric chair, death in the electric chair. He appeals it because when you're convicted on a death sentence, you get to appeal it. Remarkably, in 1961, kind of odd, the state refuses to press the case anymore, and he's released. So he starts to freelance. There's this guy, I'll write something about him one day, Harold Konigsberg, really scary freelance hitman, scary guy. There's a picture of him in here. He said that DiBiase and him and Joe Iacovelli staked out a guy named Ali Wafa, who was the driver and bodyguard for Joey Gallo. And when Ali returned from sea, he was a cook on a ship, to the Hoboken docks. They shot him dead. A confidential informant also told the FBI that DiBiase was involved with the murder of Mike Granello, who was the son of his pal, Sally Burns. Granello, they found him garroted, shot in a car on 86th Street and Riverside Drive in 1960. He was a drug addict. And he had been holding up and robbing mostly made guys. So, on one occasion, he beat one of them almost to death with a baseball bat, this guy called Casarita. I don't have a first name. The FBI, anyway, that's what Konigsberg said. The FBI says that he was killed by Tommy Ciboli for dealing narcotics. Maybe, Sally Burns started to investigate his son's murder, but he should have left it alone because then they murdered him. In the meantime, DiBiase is running illegal card games on 209 West 79th Street down in New York. He's also dabbling in heroin. Not a safe thing to do. So the FBI believes that he's now a made man, and they thought in the Genovese family, working under Matty Ainello or Anthony Strollo, close friend of Vito Genovese, everyone else seems to think he was with the Colombo crime family. It doesn't matter. He was a made guy. DiBiase was probably involved with the murder of Joe Visconti, who was a bouncer at the Wagon Wheels Bar on Broadway, this big place. And because Visconti had carried out a robbery of a guy called Frank Iacovello, who was Joe Iacovello's brother. Iacovello was a high-ranking member of the Colombo crime family. This guy, there's no time to get into it, but Visconti was an airport thief, and he had somehow made out with $350,000, 1965 or something, worth of bonds. So he was not some small-time guy. So anyway, DiBiase contacts this guy Visconti. He says, look, I got some stolen American Express checks. You want to buy them? When he showed up, they ambushed him in an apartment in Little Italy on Elizabeth Street. They think the killers were Sonny and Deleco, DiBiase, Mickey Evans, DiBiase. On New Year's Eve, 1970, listen to this. There's this guy, Joe Fatty Russo. He's associated with the mob, but he's mostly a drug dealer, big-time heroin guy. He holds a New Year's Eve party at his house in Wayne County, New Jersey. 30 people show up. There's children there. It's a family. It's really nice. They hold it down in the basement of the property of the house. So Russo had hired two people, black people, to wait on the guests. One was Charles Shepard, a local man, and a 30-year-old part-time musician. He was a bartender as well. And with Shepard's live-in wife, Shirley Green. She's acting as a hostess. By the end of the night, Russo's drunk or coked up or something, and he goes down and he sees Shepard dancing with his wife, and he's trying to, according to him, trying to make out with her. With his wife's nephew, I'm sorry. But he was dancing with Russo's wife. Russo, believe it or not, he goes upstairs to his bedroom. He gets a loaded .38, comes back down. And in front of everybody, he empties a gun into Shepard, killing him. Then he staggers back up to his bedroom, got ammunition, staggers back down, goes up to his wife, shoots her 6 times in the head. They carry the bodies out and they drive them to Painbrook Road in Montville, New Jersey. It's about 15 miles from his house. And they throw the bodies just in a snowdrift. That's it. And they drive off. They're discovered the next day. There's this huge investigation. One thing led to another. Russo, when they came to Russo's house to talk to him, because I mean, after all, his wife's dead, he's going to Florida. Not only that, all the guests in the party were in Florida because Russo had paid for them to go to Florida, including DiBiase, who was in Florida as well. So when Russo's finally get arrested, he's charged with the murders of Shepard and Green. He turned to Carmine Persico, a powerful capo with the Colombos, and he says, look, don't worry, the fix is in, we'll take care of everything. The fact is, Russo was tried twice for the double murders, and he was acquitted on both occasions. Think about that. But the Federal Organized Crime Task Force, they tapped his phone, and they're listening to conversations between Russo, Joe Iacovello, and Carmine Debaise. And they're all talking about how they're going to throw this case. They're going to bribe jurors and so forth. 1972, federal warrants are issued, and they're all indicted. But Russo is able to avoid prosecution for murder. He gets off. A mistrial is declared for Russo, Persico, and then Iacovelli took off, and so did DiBiase. He shows up a little while later, 1972, sort of, when he apparently walked into a bar and was an eatery, really, and murdered Joey Gallo. He's accused of being one of the murderers of Joey Gallo. Of course, at this point, just about everybody's claiming they shot Joey Gallo. So 2 days after the murder, he meets up with a guy named Charlie. That's all anyone knows, in Eagle Cliffs, New Jersey. Put him in a car. They take off, and he disappeared, never to be heard of again. There's a rumor he died up in Hartford, Connecticut. Maybe, I don't know. There's a sad end to this. In 1975, on June 30th, there was this guy hustling people on Prince and Elizabeth Street, the center of Little Italy, in a Monte game. So he takes their money, and then he goes to take off. And they go to Carmine Debaise, Carmine's son. And they say, Gietno, and the guy, they call him. He's 26 years old. They say, look, this guy took our money. What are you going to do? He goes to talk to the guy. The guy jumps in the car and takes off, right? But Gietno guy traps him on a corner. He gets out. He's dressed in a white suit. He pulls a revolver out of his coat pocket, and he's pointing at the guy. He says, give me the money back. There's an off-duty cop. He's at a gas station. He sees what's going on. He draws his revolver. He says, stop, I'm a policeman. Put the gun down. He wouldn't put the gun down. He aimed at the cop. There was a shootout. He's dead. Gietno's dead. Guy is dead.
I hate turtlenecks, man. A turtleneck is like being strangled by a really weak guy. All day.
Welcome to my world. Won't you come on in? Miracles, I guess, still happen now and then. Step into my heart and leave your cares behind. Welcome to my world, filled with you in mind. Knock and the door will open. Seek and you will find. Ask and you'll be given the key to this world of mine. I'll be waiting here with my arms unfurled, waiting just for you. Welcome to my world, waiting just for you. Welcome to my